Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and of course, all of you that take place live are the co-hosts of this channel as we talk about all things tabletop role playing. And I had a difficult time uh, in literally embracing an idea that I think is going to be rather simple to understand. But I think the cognitive load in tabletop role playing games is having some issues. So we're going to talk about, of course, Dungeons and Dragons versus Daggerheart, um, just because we need some titles to do one versus the other. And what the hell is a dice axis? We're going to go X, Y, Z. We're going to go up, down, left, right, forward, backwards. A dice axis, and explain what it is, and understand like, oh, that's what that means. So let's get past our intro. Get your snacks. Put your feet up. Um, let's set a spark to that mind fuel and get into what is a dice axis and how is it used in narrative role playing games. And we kind of see this missing in D20 games. All right, let's get into it. Okay, hello everyone. Excuse me. Welcome to the channel. And of course, if you're a long termer, which I'm pretty sure you are, um, thanks for stopping by. Back again. All right. So, what is a dice axis? All right. So, your players are in front of a locked door. They're in a heist. They're being quiet. There are guards all around. One of the players is, on one knee checking out the lock. They grab their dice up. It's important for them to open up this lock. Shh, everyone's quiet. They roll the dice, they fail. And then the player goes, oh man. GM is like, failed to pick the lock. And the player goes, well, I'm just gonna roll again. And this is a common feature of games that don't tell you about the dice axis um, feature that I think game masters and players should embrace. Now, it's excellent for the game master, but for players, it's a little bit of a strange cognitive load since literally in front of the player, they roll the dice, they fail to do the thing, they need to do the thing, but the circumstances haven't changed. And one feature of rolling dice in any role playing game, this could be in, I don't, first of all, I feel like it should automatically be included in every tabletop role playing game, but some games are a little bit more forward with how the sausage is made. And so I'm picking on Daggerheart because it's the closest one for a lot of these narrative storytelling mixed result style games. And that is that every time the dice are rolled, there should be a change in the axis. And so we're gonna kind of have fun with the axis, the XYZ axis, and that is going forwards and backwards, up and down, left and right. Okay, so whenever the dice are rolled, there should be a change in the circumstances all the time. And the reason why I say this, I'm putting I'm being a little bit bold here. Not even bold. Let's say chest forward arrogance in terms of this. Um, I have the nature sounds in the background. We're traveling through the wilderness, and when we are on these adventures, many times the wonder, the surprise, dare I say, the skill of improv is a very difficult thing to embrace if you've never done it before, or your game doesn't include it, or it has very hard lines and structures in it. And many times we ignore or don't have space for third party interruptions when it comes to our tabletop gaming. And a third party interruption is like um, persons, picking the lock. Third party interruptions are things that are outside the control of the players, of the game master's story or plot, of everything that's going on. It's that randomness, the not well, not quite randomness that can intrude on the story to make it change its features that surprises the players, the game master, and has those aha moments, those very memorable moments within the story. And so Daggerheart uses a 2d12, and it has a hope and fear die. One d12 is a hope, one d12 is a fear, and when rolling those dice, whichever, since you're rolling both and adding them together, one of those dice more likely than not will be higher than the other one. Of course, if you get doubles, it's a critical success in the game. And that means that every time the dice are rolled, the circumstances are going to change. And embracing the change is where we get those um, graphic novel, movie, television, novel-based literary events where we go, oh, that thing happened. Oh, and a lot of times, what it really only requires is a little foreshadow. So let's go back to our picking the locks scenario, and the characters roll the dice and they fail. Then there should be, it could be based on whatever the dice are rolled, or a random table, or by choice collaborative through the players and game master, or the most appropriate thing to happen in a narrative. What has changed? And it doesn't need to be bad, it just needs to be a change. So if we go forwards, backwards, what forward progress or backwards progress just happened? Do the lock picks break? Do they get jammed in the lock? Does something click on the other side of the lock from this failed roll? Are the lock picks dropped? Is there noise that's made? An alarm set off? There's lots of backwards progress that can happen with a failed roll. But because a lot of times, narratively, it's just built into the thing. Hey, I tried to sneak somewhere, I failed. Okay, probably backwards progress. But there's also forward progress. Okay, you don't open up the lock, but maybe something better happens. Maybe an NPC comes across, sees the players. Players are like, oh, oh shoot, this person. Well, we're not really bad guys. Bad guys. We don't want to murder, kill an innocent person that saw us. And then the innocent person looks around, sees them, and goes, and walks up and helps them. Gives, like, it looks at them and is just like, you know what, I hate these rich noble mofos too. I'd break in there if I had the ability to as well. And they just, distract a guard or something like that, or they walk up and they've got like keys on their belt and they hand the keys over to the players or something silly like that. I mean, as long as there's a change in the circumstance, then it means that the die roll had importance. Because if someone fails a die roll and just goes, well, can I just roll again? Then what was the purpose in making the first die roll? Um, Now, mind you, there are good reasons for having progressive or stacked die rolls, right? Like you may have and I think this is something that's not incorporated in a lot of games, and I think it could, and that is, making skill checks, die rolls, exploration just like combat, except without hit points. Although the game ICRPG does attach um, hit point like structures to non-combat things where you need multiple successes, or you're competing against the successes and failures. So an example could be the same lock you need to have 3 successes versus 3 failures. And that means you rolled once, got a failure. Okay, that check marks a failure. All right, we need to roll again, and then that can be a timer. In which case we go back to the access, right? If it's a tension timer and you need to get 3 successes to open the lock, but there are guards walking around, there are individuals that are for and against this heist. There is something dangerous on the other side of the locked door, or there are innocent people that are locked away and you need to rescue them. There is a lockdown in the city happening, and the players need to escape the city state before they close all the gates, and they're going to need to roof run and do a parkour across the rooftops to escape or something like that. um, all of that can be built in. And so when dice are rolled in an axis, it really means that there's some kind of tension in the background. And what is that tension happening, whether it's good or bad? And it allows us to break that tension. So we've got forward progress and backward progress, but we also have up and down. And up and down can just be positive, negative. You got an upside, downside. You got an upturn, a downturn. And again, they sound similar, and you can have those mixed results as well. So in Daggerheart, there is when you roll the dice, you have hope and fear. So when rolling the dice, you could fail the roll but have hope, or you could succeed in the roll but have it with fear. So succeeding in the roll might say, okay, well, you unlock the door, but the fear goes into the pocket, sits there on the table as it adds to the pile of fear that the game master has. And that game master can say, guards are coming. So yeah, okay, great. You open up the lock, you steal the thing, but there's a lot of guards coming after you. Or it could fail and you still have some kind of hope, meaning like, oh, I didn't get the lock, but I think the next time I do this, right, the game master may say, all right, if you failed, but you kind of understand the workmanship of the lock, so if you succeed at some point, you're not going to have to roll again, right? You're going to understand what the um, what the die rolls. My brain is starting to fart here. you you may learn some more information about the particular circumstances that maybe you didn't know before. So I'm going to put up a document here and share this out here. For some reason, I'm not sure if you guys are. I might be having an issue with my overlay. So allow me to go into the YouTubes and see if I can find out if you guys are actually making any comments or not, because there are none showing up. So I may actually go here, leave this aside, and there is a comment, but it's not showing up again. What is going on? Hmm. Hmm. And I don't have a way. All right. I'm going to pop this part of the chat out. Let's pop the chat. All right, let's pop you out today, move you off to the side. Spooks is just being quiet today. No, I don't think that's actually. Oh, there it is. So your comment showed up there, Spook, but the other comment from the other comment from the Shy Squad did not show up. Huh. Huh. Strange. All right, I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. All right. Okay. All right. Don't touch it. All right, no problem. All right, so I don't know how easy it is to see this. Is it a little bit easier? Okay, I guess not. All right, maybe this. There we go. All right, a little bit bigger. All right, so dice rolling axis problem is, can I just roll again if I fail? And I've seen this like um quandary come up in like D20 Dungeons and Dragons forums about rolling again, and the player, one player goes, I make a perception check, which technically probably should have been an investigation check, but whatever. And then the player fails, and then all the other players, do the pile on the rabbit thing, where they're just like, well, I roll, and I roll. Or another example happens during research, right? The players go into a massive library, and the wizard has the arcane knowledge and is like, I'm going to look for a book. And then they rolled a 2 and they're like, oh, even my bonuses, I failed. And all the barbarian with no skill and even a negative, it was like, I roll. And one of the things that we tend not to look at is this dice axis of like, maybe circumstances need to change. Another way of looking at this is leverage. So imagine trying to use a charisma check or persuade someone to do something, and that person has no interest whatsoever in listening to what you have to say. And this often happens in tabletop role playing games where you have the issue of, as a you can't convince a person, because most players will say, well, I don't want to buy a car. You can't convince me to buy a car. It doesn't matter how good your charisma is. I can't afford it and I'm not going to buy a car. And what it really leads to is leverage. There needs to be a circumstance change in order for the failure to become a success. Now, mind you, that may mean that you've just closed off one avenue to have to go to another avenue. So the classic, I try to persuade the city guard to let me in, and the city guard goes, nah, hell no, I'm looking at you guys are crazy, no. And another player goes, well, I've got a better charisma score, can I just roll and try to, and the thing is like, no, you've already failed. That avenue is locked off, and it sounds unfair to say, well, there's like 4 players, one player failed, why can't the others just roll? But this isn't a video game, right? We're trying to play a role playing game where there is at least some semblance of verisimilitude, that there is some realism involved in this, and adding that realism in means that the city guard didn't just forget you're standing there, and there's not really much you can say. So you need to change the circumstances. You need some leverage, especially when it comes to social interactions. So maybe the simple persuasion, hey, guy, could you let me in, doesn't work. But maybe bribery or threats or seduction or something like that might work. Now, remember, ye, there, there was just a failed attempt, which might affect the very next attempt, because the guard's going like, I know you want in here, and the fact that you're trying to bribe me, seduce me, threaten me probably isn't going to work, or at least its ability to work may have a difficult problem, unless of course you get leverage on the guard, and that's where we come along with the leverage thing, which is somehow you realize, oh, this guard's kind of greedy or a pushover or feels threatened some kind of way or is looking for a handoff or whatever the case may be, and change the circumstances. So you know unlocking a door, okay, well, you failed. Well, maybe the barbarian with a big ass hammer is a changing of the circumstances to get this damn door open, to steal whatever, save the people, get the missives, steal the crown jewels, exchange the you know forged paperwork, whatever the case might be, whatever reason you need to get through this door. And a lot of times this dice axis, and we see this in narrative games where it's not just a straight success or fail. It might be success or fail, and you start adding on forward progress, backwards, going up. There's an upside or a downside, or going left and right. So yeah, here with this little chart I have here, I kind of just made it up on the fly. um Forwards, backwards is forward progress towards your goal. Of course, backwards is a step back, delayed progress towards your goal. And again, sometimes this isn't necessarily attached to the even success or failure of the dice roll. For example, um, James Bond 007 needs to open up the safe. Well, maybe open up the safe is a foregone conclusion. Like, we're not even you don't even need the roll. You're going to open up the safe, but we're going to have you roll the dice to see if there's some good thing comes out of it or a bad thing. And a bad thing might be you open up the safe, you grab the documents, but they're encrypted, or it's like invisible ink, or it's in a language you don't understand, or something like that. Yeah, you get the thing, but there's this extra step, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, now I got to get out of here, get this thing, and I got the issue of I don't even know what it is, the thing that I stole, or I can't read it or understand it, or it needs its equal pair, or I need to find a specific person that can read it, or it needs to be held up to a mirror that I don't happen to have in my pocket right now, which I could have easily solved the situation, but now I need to go on a run, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with the upside and downside, like a beneficial, successful outcome, or there's a worse, harmful outcome. Heck, a benefit could be, oh, you open up the door, you get the thing you want, and there's something else inside. Maybe saving people, there's someone inside that does understand what the hell you were going after, or can lead you, hey, I know where the back steps are. The documents are always a mimic, Mr. Bond. Yeah, but the laser's about to zap my genitals. I need to say something to get me out of here, right? No, I expect you to die. But yeah, exactly, right? Who knows what the heck is going on? Heck, maybe the mimic has been waiting here all this time to go chomp somebody's arm, but you gotta smack the mimic on the back of the neck to get the thing out of the mimic's stomach, because the mimic hasn't been able to digest this damn thing, and the mimic's happy that you got the damn thing out of its stomach in the first place. I don't know. That sounds funny and weird and kind of cool, but dumb. But so if we have a up, down, and forward, backwards axis, well, what about the left, right? And here is where we it allows us to have a bit more fun and excitement, especially cinematically. Not that the others aren't cinematic as well, but we can kind of go left, right. And mind you, there is no really difference between going left or right. It's just a side to side progress. You're not moving forward or backwards. You're changing what the hell's going on. And so I just decided to pick left as a change of circumstance, landscape, or position. And I mean that in a physical manner. Yesterday we talked about weather, and weather changes, landscape changes, and physical changes may be a thing. So an example would be a once crowded place isn't crowded any longer, or an empty place gets crowded when everyone gets, a bell goes off or a horn blows and everybody leaves all the factories and foundries, and the place gets crowded, and it's like, ooh, we're going to get lost in the crowd, but so will our enemy. We won't be able to see them. What do we do? Right? It could be something like that. Torrential rain moves in, fog rolls in, high winds, a fire that was happening way off in the distance starts coming closer because of the landscape getting burned. Like you can hear the nature sounds in the background. Migratory animals show up. There's all kinds of things that you can foreshadow, I believe, in a game to have a physical positioning change of circumstances. Anytime the players are in and around a place, you can change that place around. Earthquakes can happen, landslides, and I'm talking about natural environments, right? Landslides. You're on a boat, and there's, storm-tossed seas and things like that. There might be something. Let's say there's a locked box, but that locked box is in or on something that has to move, like a stagecoach or a boat, or on the back of an animal or something like that, and the circumstances have to change. So that's just, and mind you, the changing of the position could be something like you're in a dinner party and you need to unlock the door, and there are people walking around the dinner party and they don't really care what you're doing, but they're just like, but the people in a dinner party are like, come on, let's dance, or we're all telling stories. Let's come back to the exceptionally large dinner table with the bad guy at the sitting at one end that wants to hear a great story, and the player's like, oh, we got to go back to the party. Damn it, things are changing. Which brings me to from the left to the right, which is a change of intent, motivation, or evidence, meaning like socially or circumstantially things are changing that aren't necessarily combat. It's not necessarily landscape, but like I said, the dinner party changes. Alarms go off that have nothing to do with the players, but there's rebellion growing, and the players are like, "Oh, this is the worst timing in the world." And now the guards are running around, going, "Everybody, get to the central corridor or whatever." And the players are like, "Oh, I gotta leave." The, I pocket my lockpicks and go to the central corridor where the guards are like putting everybody together because there are rebels throwing Molotov cocktails and a rebellion growing outside and people are protesting or something and things. Yeah. Spook says, seems like if you're in a pinch and don't have a plan, you can roll a d6 and figure out the direction randomly. And that's kind of my point, right? Like, I don't care if anybody steals it. You can just write this a d6 forward, backwards, up, down, left, right, and then just go, you failed a die roll was made and nothing happens. And this is where your classic D20 games happen, where the the dice are rolled, which makes then the more dice, greater chance they're going to have success. So the dice anyway. There's actually one, and it's like, well, be advanced. Uh, there's a 4 D20 actually that no one. If the group all the rolls together, form of half or more tails. So it's not necessarily always a good thing to have everybody pile on the rabbit. And the same could be done for a book, and then the now, mind you, barbarian finds the book, but in my games when I was much younger, we had some fun with the barbarians. Like, I don't know, some fun with it. Like the barbarian, and we play it kind of the very player is the one that's the thing. So it's not succeeded. It's more like the book for this together, and then the barbarian goes, "Well, there's a." That's exactly right. Great, give me the book. But only that kind of thing, right? Same thing for like is in charge of the seed where the stealthy character succeed. Um, a D6 and go, okay, you failed the roll. Now what? And you go, here, put this up to the front. So you roll a 3, upside, beneficial, successful outcome, recovery. And you go, well, yeah, but it's like, oh, okay. I failed to pick the lock. A bunch of locks just like open this. Well, can I back in like this? Get it. Door. You know what? If you get this one, Sukes, right? You two. Last Friday and Monday, I was minute I able to get the but anyway, I'm calling it dice roll, unless a success failure. So let's who goes down first. And just like in a video game or anything like that, it's punch punch kick, shoot shoot shoot, dodge, parry. You know, your our favorite action movies, John Wick, or fantasy movie series or something. We see that all the time. There's attacks, there's dodging, there's ups, there's downs, and the best part of like the cinematic version of action is that we get to see the ups and downs. We get to see them, our uh, players, our main characters swing on chandeliers and turn over tables and slide and move things. You know, the circular table that rolls with the arrows going into it as the players like crouch behind it as it rolls across the field. One player, you know, plinking the bad guys to distract them from their allies trying to run from through an open space from cover from one place to another, whatever. And we only see that because, well, there are great writers who some of the best action is written from very creative standpoints. You know, Jackie Chan movies have always excellently used the environment when it comes to combat and acrobatics and things like that. Right now, Rumble in the Bronx is coming to mind about having a fight with a refrigerator and freezer door and um, trolley or shopping cart and things like that, ladders, you know, being used and whatnot, and all that kind of stuff. So having some real fun with that, but you only get that when the circumstances change. Well, the same goes for other die rolls, right? And I like the number three because three makes a triangle. Triangle is a very supportive thing. You also, with with the exact same triangle, which is the the most minimum number of foundational features you can have and still have a very strong foundation. Um, you can also have a triangle also means that when you have three factions or three different opinions or three enemies or whatever, that there is no stability in that two of them have to work together to take out the third one, and players can kind of get into that conflict triangle, which I like, which is like the minimum number. If it's just one black versus white, then there is, I mean, there's only one decision to go. But when you have a threesome, get your minds out the gutter. The players can involve themselves in that threesome, making it shift and change, and they become the monkey wrench. They become the wild card in that um, very tenuous balance that's happening with the three. And so the same, I like the number three as well because it's very simple and short. So many times you might need a skill check. Hey, you want to climb the cliff? You need three successes versus three failures. You want to pick the lock, make it three. And in those cases, like combat, it's like, okay, failed one. Okay, now we have tension because we need three successes, but we only have two failures left, and so on. And you start to build that up. And then you start, if you add that with a great timer, a clock, if you will, from Blades in the Dark, it's like money in the bank, you know. And mind you, like the forward backwards progress can be exactly the same thing about climbing a cliff, going through the wilderness, traveling from one place to another. You know, we Daggerheart has the benefit of having like the hope and fear dice. So, for example, if the players are going through the wilderness, as we have here in the background, we have our sounds, and you know, well, a little bit boring, right? Oh, make a survival check, make a nature check, make a navigation check to go through the wilderness. What's the point? Why bother making the die roll of survival if nothing's going to happen? Daggerheart has solved that problem with the hope and fear dice because every time the dice are rolled, there's going to be a change, whether it's immediate or later. There's going to be a change. You go through the wilderness, you make three checks to go through the wilderness, and each of those three checks, there's a it's slightly less than a 50-50 chance of the game master earning fear, which means even if nothing happens by hacking through the wilderness, when you get to where you're going, the game master might have 3 more fear than it started out, right? And that means like, ooh, if we can find a better way to get through making 3 die rolls to get through this wilderness, and we meet the lizard folk who has a guide that gets us through not only twice as fast but no die rolls, that's actually better. That actually benefits the players instead of the game master going, all right, you get to the bad guy stronghold. I got 3 more fear. Let's go. I had 6 fear. I got 9. I can spend this up. And that's kind of the point. It's the Daggerheart has the hope fear Jenga tower going on, where the building blocks Jenga tower. Where's my Jenga block thing? I should actually bring it down one of these days. Oh, it's tucked up. Okay. Anyway, the Jenga towering of the building of hope and fear itself actually is a good thing. And I think if you wanted to steal, air quote steal, do an homage to something like that in any other game, what I would suggest is you could incorporate it with a specific circumstance when the players fail their rolls, right? Now you could just say, hey guys, every time you fail a roll, I have a D4 and it goes up from D4 to D6 to D8, D10, and I get to use that as a game master whenever I want for my bad guy. Or I grab a D6 and I start getting a bag of D6s. Or I get a +1 and I mark it off. Or I add, another feature, or I can add up a CR if you want to use with CR levels or something like that. Like have some kind of outwardly visible, knowledgeable, hey guys, when you roll the dice, you can keep rolling if you want to, but if you fail, I get to do a thing, or I get to keep a thing, or I get to add a thing to my story that will complicate the players' lives. Like, for example, you may say, hey guys, I've set the DCs to like 12 or 15 or something in a D20 game. But if you fail, I'm going to roll a D4 and I'm going to step the die up every time you fail. And they're like, what do you mean? So like, hey, so if you fail, you keep rolling. You failed to pick the lock. You're going to have to figure out another way to get in there. Busting the door down, getting the keys, bribing a guard, capturing a guard at sword point and threatening them to open up the whatever. You're going to have to do something different. And the player goes, why can't I just roll again? Like, no, you can roll again. But you see this D4, it becomes a D6. So if you guys need to use like a stealth check or get out of here, it's going to be 15 plus 3. It's okay. Now it's 18. It's tougher for you to do anything like, oh man, really? Right. You can incorporate that very quickly. There could even be you can even add a circumstance failure, positive failure thing. Like, okay, when you fail, it means that you're going to have to make another die roll that I get to add in somewhere else. One stealth check to get out the building? Nope. I'm going to check mark off one of these since you guys failed before. You need 2 stealth checks. You want to go through the mountain pass and make a survival check. All right. Let's see. I've got 4 of these from your past failures. You're going to have to make. I'm going to use 3 of these. You're going to need to make 3 survival checks. Something like that. Whatever the case may be, you could use it as a tension timer. There a bad thing's going to happen to you in 4 rounds, turns or whatever, and every time you fail, I tick off the clock. One aspect of the clock, tick tick tick. You can roll again. Tick. You can roll again if you want to. Tick. Anything like that, and I would suggest doing this very above board. I would suggest let the players know that this is what's going to happen. Have a session 0. This is exactly the thing that's going to be in a game. Let them know if there's a timer, even though the players don't know, even though the characters don't know, the players may know. Remember I told you it was going to be 4 rounds before the guards get here? Tick, 3 rounds now. Oh, nope, 2 rounds. Oh, you wanted to roll again? Same thing with the searching the library, right? Maybe the book is maybe so many failures you'll never find the book ever. Oh no, you can roll again. Tick. You're probably not going to find a book. You mean we won't find it at all? Oh no, no, no. The book doesn't exist. It's gone. And you're like, oh, really? Okay, so we've got two more opportunities to roll to see if we can find it. Oh, sure. But remember, by that second opportunity, if you fail again, you're gonna have to go to a whole nother city. You're gonna have to find somebody that might have that information because the book just is gone. Whatever the case might be, right? It's illegible. It got burned in the fire from the last time. There's city guards knocking down the door to come into the library, despite the librarian saying, "Please don't come in here. We're neutral ground," and they start running around looking for you. Yep. How would you convert this to accommodate for diceless gaming in prison? Um, One of my close friends was in prison and did play tabletop role playing games. And one of the ways that you can do a diceless system is it's okay. So I guess diceless depends on what your description of random is. So not necessarily diceless, but let's talk about randomization. One of the things they used or used plenty of times were pencils. So pencils make great six-sided dice because they have six sides and you can carve into the side of them. Now in prison, most stateside prisons have a policy of no gambling. So the idea of rolling dice against the wall and gambling and things like that, while it happens, is against the rules. So they're not allowed to have RPG tabletop role playing game dice. So a lot of times they were made through soap, made through paper. Strips of paper were put into hats or little cubbies, and they would pull the strip of paper out with numbers on them, things like that. But another way to do diceless is like a form of rock, paper, scissors. And you do that, once, twice, three times kind of thing. And another one is to have a diceless system that you use points for success and failure. And then you have to choose to fail to earn points back for successes later. So let me give you a very simple physical, mental, social. So your character is physical, you have a physical stat, which is like physicality. Your mental stats are just um, mental acuity, and your social stat is just being social interaction, right? Those are your stats, three stats. And then you have to decide, you have to put the number one, two, or three in any of those categories. So if you put three in your physicality, you're very physical. And you put two in your mental, that means you've got to score two, and your social is one. So mark off one whenever you want to do something. I want to open up, I want to bust the door down and kick the door open. Okay, mark off a point from your physicality. Okay, now my physicality is down to two. All right, on the other side of the door are three, beast men or something. They're goblinoids. They're orc, soldiers or something. What do you want to do? I want to do battle with them. All right, well, to defeat them, you're going to have to use one of your physicality. All right, I mark off a physicality. Now you've got one left. So the idea of that is, okay, you maybe socially this character can only do it once, but now you're going to have to fail in a thing to earn a point back to get maybe some of your physicality back, and you can go back and forth like that. And that's basically like doing it's like a yes, no, succeed, fail, move forward, backwards kind of thing, where you have to, and collaborating with the other players. Hey guys, I would like to use my social skill and fail to get a point back because I need the point to get my physicality up so that I can go into the next encounter to defend all the rest of you guys. Right. And then the game master basically says, you know what? To defeat this monster, it's going to take like three physicality from the group of you. And someone says, well, I'll spend two to stand in front of the big monster. And another one's like, well, I'm sneaky and I'll come around the corner and I'll spend one of mine to defeat the monster. Okay. Or to get around the monster or whatever. And the game master can say, okay, it takes three to defeat it, two to get around it, and one just to survive the encounter and run for your life. They're like, all right, well, we need to get on the other side of the door, so we'll use 2 to get to the other side of the door and get through the room, but the monster's not defeated. And they're like, nope, that kind of thing. So yeah, diceless gaming in prison. Anyway, that's how it was explained to me. But you'd be surprised about let's see some. You'd be surprised about how much ingenuity there is in terms of tabletop role playing in prison. It's because literally tabletop role playing games are escapism and you know sneaking dice inside and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of tabletop role playing games. And some of it maybe not as successful as others because there's a lot of people who have like unregulated emotional states in prison because that's kind of how what got them in there in the first place. And so there can be what the heck just happened here? So there could be some issues with like, what do you mean I failed? It's like, dude, you rolled the dice and failed. Well, that's unfair, you know. You get the flipping the table and anger and stuff like that. My friend was, we're still friends to this day, and yeah, he said sometimes it was like some people you just can't play just because you're all together in prison and you want to have some kind of like um escapism doesn't mean everybody's equally on the same page. Some people you just don't you're only friends with them due to circumstance, not due to similarities in personality. Sorry. So that can be very much an issue. So um, again, returning back to well, same thing. Slight segue back to the Axis thing is there are a number of ways games have dealt with this. Right now, very popular in the gaming sphere is Daggerheart. So I'm picking with that. But Blades in the Dark, which is a hack of Powered by the Apocalypse, which Daggerheart is a yeah, which Daggerheart has a is a hack of Powered by the Apocalypse, is this idea of this axis with the mixed result. And I think Daggerheart does an excellent job to really simplify the mixed result, especially if you're not very creative at the moment. You know, you go to pick the lock, you fail to pick the lock, you roll the dice, you get hope and fear, you without having to decide what happens next, the fear result on the hope and fear dice adds to the drama, even if it doesn't add it immediately. Where you could say, yeah, you can go ahead and roll again, but everybody knows, well, damn, if you keep rolling, we could possibly be stacking fear in the palm of the hand of our game master, or stacking hope with everybody else. Like, I know we need to pick this lock, and I know it's taking us a long time, and I know the guards are coming, but we are hopeful in releasing the prisoners and getting the hell out of here and rescuing um, the captured noble family by this uh, the totalitarian regime of the despotic vampire lord or something like that, right? And it's like, yeah, we're all fueled up on hope to get the hell out of here, and we start burning the hope off to get to escape the city. When this whole thing first started, we were in bad shape, right? We weren't really hopeful at all. But now that we're here and we're right on the cusp, as one of the players starts to pick the lock, we're like, yeah, we can do this. We're here. We're already here now. We one more thing, one more click of the tumbler, and bam. Okay, now you got it right. Mufa says a little late to the party. Not late at all. Says I got to play Daggerheart at Origin. Seemed pretty good. Just got my copy in the mail. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait for my copy. Because I joined the bandwagon late. I've got the free SRD that they have on their website, and I'm pretty impressed by it. I wasn't sure what the game would be like, and I understand that the system, this axis of the system about the hope and fear and move forward and backwards progress kind of thing throws people off a bit. um a lot of it is like the Dungeons and Dragons part of Daggerheart faces the players, where the Powered by the Apocalypse forged in the dark mechanisms face the game master, and then that filter in between is the hope and fear dice. right? Because a lot of the storytelling part is on the game master side. Not a lot of the numbers. Most of the complicated numbers part is on the player side to make them feel like they're playing traditional Dungeons and Dragons. Whereas the foundation of the game, the engine of the game, is actually powered by the apocalypse. That's how I see it. Um, where they really, they, I want to say they snuck in the back door, the mixed results kind of thing. Whereas the player facing stuff is like, cool, I get to make a character, I got all these options, and blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. Keep rolling those dice, see what happens. Um, yeah, kind of funny. Anyway, I missed my point. I got distracted there, Mufa. No, you're cool. Mufa says, I'm a fan of Genesis and the Fantasy Flight game Star Wars, so no wonder I like Daggerheart. Yeah, and for those who don't know, Fantasy Flight games, the Genesis system, it uses dice that has things like, let me see if I can remember all of them without looking it up. Threat, opportunity, advantage. Like, it has mixed results. You can fail but get some kind of advantage later, or an advantage for the group. You can roll the dice and have like a threat happen in addition to what you're doing. And so it does have this mixed, it's not just whether you succeed or fail, but how does it move the story forward. And it can be very difficult to embrace that if you're used to just a simple pass fail system. And I dare say there's a really easy way to get pass fail systems to align with this. We just don't use it. I mean, hell, you could roll a d20 and go like do a +5 +10 or a -5 -10 to start having, the closer you are to the middle, the more variation there is. And then the greater you go to the, +5 or +10, then you go to the extremes of having critical successes and failures. There it is. Thank you, Mufa. Thank you very much. Yeah. Threat, advantage, boost, setback, despair, and triumph are the different, based on the dice you roll, can give you any mixture of those following things like threats or advantage, a boost, a setback and a triumph, or like a threat and a triumph, or despair and a boost and an advantage, and having mixed portions of that. I think they could have made it. I know some people were like, it's a cash grab, even though all you have to do is just have a little chart, roll regular dice, and look at the chart, which many people have made for the game. So I don't know why people claim there's, if you don't buy the dice, they didn't grab your cash. But that being said, the same could be said for, I thought they could have made it a little simpler, or they could make a simple version of the game by just rolling one die instead of having multiple dice and like taking away so many dice because you have to not add up, but figure out if you've got more than some than another. I think there's an easier way to do it, but that's their game system, so whatever. For many people, they love it, and I embracing the idea of having mixed results. Like, for me, it's second nature to me, but for newer players, going like, so you're saying that I failed in combat with the monster, but I also get hope or some kind of advantage or thing. And the idea is just to think of it cinematically, right? Oh, no, you didn't. You failed to harm the monster. Let's say it's a soldier like an orc or something, but you disarm them, or you push them back, or you guide them into a funnel, so now they can't stand like 5 abreast. Now they're in a tight corridor or something, or you funnily flip him around and throw his cloak over his head and kick him in the rear end, right? Which really doesn't do any damage, but now he's pissed off and he can't see where he's at, or you want to even get more comedic, like you sliced his belt and now his pants fall down around his ankles, and like something, you, depending on the tone of the game you're running, you could have fun things like that happen. Where we used to play a lot of a game known as Feng Shui. Yes, there is a role-playing game known as Feng Shui, which is about, it's not about arranging furniture and flowers. It's about these things known as Feng Shui sites. And the game is based around Hong Kong action. And outwardly, we would have fun and giggles. but the game in world took itself seriously. And they had these different time periods. And if you found a feng shui site, you could go through time and space to go to another realm. And it basically, it was like every Jackie Chan, every Tony Jaa, every Jet Li movie combined together with today's John Wick action style movies and things like that. And one of the things that would happen in it was you could have these mixed results based on the dice that you rolled. And so we very cinematically would do things like, well, okay, you succeeded in going against the cannon fodder, the unnamed, the minions, but you failed to take them out. And so there was a lot of like confusion, stunning them, distracting them, and things like that, right? And so we had a lot of fun, like with car chases and back alley fights and things like that. It's like, well, all right, I as I'm running down the alley, I'm gonna like knock over the trash cans to distract them or something like that. It's like, okay, that's what you did. You didn't do any harm, but you did distract them a little bit, or just delayed them, or or drew their attention away from the other players so that they don't even have to make any rolls, right? That kind of stuff. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to do that. And games that have like, like Mufa puts out here, the threat, advantage, boost, setback, despair, triumph kind of a thing. What is it? 2D20 system does that. Winter Water. Is this going to show up? It sure did. Okay. The kanji. I don't know if that's correct. Um, I've got that on my wedding ring. I don't have that on my finger now, but my wedding ring has that written on there. I think it just says "I love you," but the middle kanji "love" is very complicated, and it reminds me of one of them right here. But anyway, it's very cool. So guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I got to go as well. Um, we here in the States, we have a holiday coming up, 4th of July. It is it is our Independence Day, so that's coming up. So just be aware that there may be some, if you're overseas, there may be some changes in in your interactions and whatnot here for our stateside. So we do have holiday coming up. A holiday, how is it pronounced? You have, you don't use the or a in front of it. I can't remember. Like you go to university, not the university or a university. It's just so. And I think holidays pronounced. Anyway, I know I'm screwing that up. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for letting me introduce this, or at least talk about this concept. Um, there's some stuff happening in the AI spectrum that's just like really bizarre. So we might even talk about some of those. I've even considered coming up with new channels to talk about some of these things. I have a great business idea I don't know if the AI systems will help me create, but I may try to get it off the ground. Although I probably need a venture capitalist to help me do it. But anyway, it's pretty fun. It would be pretty fun if it was possible to do it. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And everybody, roll the dice and let's get past our pass fail. Right? Let's get into some more interesting things that happen in the game. And also, everybody who stopped by, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. If you guys have some subjects or great ideas, or you find something in the tabletop community and you go, oh man, I really want to talk about this thing, please do so. You know, Wiki says it's just Chinese. I looked up feng shui and instantly went down a rabbit hole. Yeah. Do they get scared of fireworks? I don't know yet. They're not old enough to have experienced fireworks displays. Now, we are far enough away. Says he just got here. Is there a way to access the docks? Well, technically, no. I always pull this. This is a 40-page personal Google Doc that whenever I write things down, I just make it up and put it on the fly. Like I did this in like 5 minutes. So, but what I could do is just copy and paste it, put it in a doobly doo. I should have a website or like I don't know, a place to put these things, but I never think they're that valuable. But Eternal Mech, I will put it in the doobly-doo now if it lets me do it. And so let's do this here. Let's see. Copy and paste this. Let's copy this down. And I'll do that right now before we get out of here. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. and rest assured, I do this a lot. Like the whole, I don't know, just for me, I just don't consider it to be that valuable sometimes. It's just like, instead of looking at my ugly mug, maybe there's something else to look at. So yeah, that's why like sometimes I'll do this and just be like, I'll just be down in a corner and just have some fun having this out here. But having a place to put these kind of little notation stuff. Oh yeah, I'll do that right now. All right. So anyway, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Let's see if I can go in right now. Let's see. I don't know if I can do it live, but I will check. Let's see. Edit event. And it won't. Yeah, I can't do it live. It won't let me do it live. I gotta go in. I gotta go into YouTube and do it like that. It says looks really insightful. Well, thank you. The insight comes from the rest of you. Yeah, but anyway, it's just it was a line of thought that came across with people really. There are people split on their desire for Daggerheart. There are people who are very bullish for it that really like it. I happen to be one of those people. And then there's people that Daggerheart rubs them the wrong way. And I feel this happens to be one of those features where every time the dice are rolled, there's a change. Something happens. Even if it's getting hope or getting fear, there's something happening when the dice are rolled. And that idea that every time you roll the dice, a new thing changes is that it's very cool. As well, if there's a VOD of the stream, I'll make sure to check that out. There is. There is. We go 6 a.m. ish, Monday through Friday ish, live for about an hour ish each day. So it's just me and myself and everyone else hanging out like before a game or after a game and just talking shit and talking about role playing games and a lot of stuff aside. Sometimes it goes political a little bit, and we just have fun, just conceptually. I love science fiction, so we will talk like post-humanism and transhumanism in science fiction games as well, because I think like they're the other white meat. You know what I mean? Like there's fantasy and modern, but you don't see a lot of science fiction talk. And I often considered turning the channel into a pure science fiction niche game, but at the time I was like, I still like fantasy, and that's my go-to. So I'm a bit reluctant to do that, but I give a lot of love to science fiction gaming and things like that. So we got that as well. So anyway, thank you very much for being here, Eternal Mech, and everybody else. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I hope that we're having a heat wave here across the states, and which it does tend to affect electronics as well. So I hope you guys have some continuous electrical power for your AC and your internet navigations. So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Oh, one last comment. No. Let me see. Oh, sounds great. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming by. And listen, the show is live. So like if you've got like a subject matter, and I try to have a theme so it'll funnel us into one idea. But I am always interested in igniting the mind fuel. So there may be one or two comments that I go, oh, that's a great idea for this other show. So yeah. So there won't be there will be a show. There will be a show. I just know that those of us in the States, there might be a lot of people who might not be up at that time, especially for holidays and things like that. They're like, I'm sleeping in. So yeah, that's a thing. But anyway, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility. Bye.